Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of WPF Cookbooks. In this video, I'll talk about dependency properties, the workhorse of WPF, and the infrastructure provided for many of WPF features, such as data binding, animations, and visual inheritance. Let's open up Visual Studio and play around with dependency property. I have Visual Studio open. Let's create a WPF application. I'll name the project Dependency Property Demo and choose .NET 8, then click Create. I'll make the window a little bit smaller by changing the width and height to about 300 pixels. Next, I'll change the default grid layout to the stack panel and update its orientation to vertical. I also update the horizontal alignment to center and vertical alignment to center. Inside the stack panel, I'll add a button called Click Me. I'll set it width to 100, its height to 30, and the margin will be 10. Then I'll add a text block with an empty text, and I'll center horizontal alignment and vertical alignment. Now let's go to the code behind. You can access the code behind by pressing F7 or expand the main window.xaml. You will see the main window.xaml.cs. In the code behind, I'll set the data context to this. What this means is this tells WPF that any data binding in this window should look for property on this class. I'll cover data context and binding scope in detail in future video. Next, I'll create a public integer property called myValue and set the default value to 25. Now go back to the main window.xaml. I will bind the text block text property to myValue. I'll wire up a click event for the button. You can do that by double click on the button in the designer. So when the button click, I just increase the value of myValue by 1. Let's save and run the application. When you run the application and click on this button, notice that the value has not increased. If I put a breakpoint here, right at the end of the button click event handler and click the button again, you can see that the actual value right now is 36 because I have been pressing it for a couple of times. But the actual value doesn't reflect onto the UI. And this is because a plain COR property doesn't notify WPF that a property has changed. So in other words, there is no change notification at all. So the UI doesn't know how to render the new value. Let's continue, remove the breakpoint, then stop the application. To make the UI update, we have two options. The first one, we can implement iNotify property change here. And manually raise property change event. However, iNotify property change is better suited for view model classes rather than code behind. Since our window class already inherit from dependency object, I will choose the second option, which is convert myValue property into a dependency property. You might wonder, how do I know window class inherit from dependency object? If you put a cursor onto the window and hit F12 and keep going down to the inheritance tree, eventually you will reach the dependency object parent class. Now go back to the main window class. Let's first delete the plain CLR property. Then I'll implement the dependency property by using the code snippet prop dp, then press tab twice. I'll change the name to my value and set the default value to 25. With the dependency property in place, let's start the application again. When you click on the button, you can see the value get updated correctly. That is because internally, dependency property raise change notification to the UI. Now let's go back to the main window.xaml. There are two important features of dependency property. The first one is property value inheritance, which means that a dependency property can flow its value down the visual tree so that child element can inherit the value from the parents. For example, if I set the font size property on a container element like the window here to 60, you can see that all the child element will inherit from this value. Another feature is value precedence system. That means when multiple sort set the same dependency property, WPF will decide which one wins. For example, if I buy this text blocks font size to my value, or set the font size for the button to be 12, you can see that the font size of the button will override the font size of its parent, which is the main window. And for the text block, now that we have the font size binding to the same value, when we click on the button, it will increase according to the value when we click on it. And that concludes the video for today about dependency property. I hope that you enjoy the video and get something valuable out of it. If you do, please consider to like and subscribe. I'll be seeing you in the next video. Thank you. And choose .NET 8, then click Create.